Elevators, escalators, we use these things every single day. But what about the company that makes it? How are these things made? And what's the business like behind the scenes, behind the curtain, behind the elevators? And when you press the close button, does that actually close the doors? We are going to find out about all of these questions today on episode number 292 of CXO Talk. I'm Michael Krigsman. I'm an industry analyst and the host of CXO Talk. Now, before I introduce our special guest, I want you to right this minute tell your friends, tell your family to watch this show, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube. So subscribe on YouTube. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce Marcus Galafasi, who is the Chief Information Officer of the Otis Elevator Company. It's a name that we all know. We all know Otis. Hey, Marcus, how are you? And thank you for being here today.
Very, very good. Thanks, Michael. Glad to be here.
So, Marcus, please tell us about the Otis Elevator Company. Tell us how big you are. I mean, you're a really, really big company.
Yeah, Otis is a $12 billion company, has been founded 165 years ago by the inventor of the safety elevator, Elisha Otis. We operate in most of the countries in the world. We have 68,000 employees. We have 33,000 mechanics in the field. We support every year more than 2 million elevators in the world. And we move, look at this data, we move every day 1 billion people. 2 billion people, sorry. 2 billion people, yes.
You move 2 billion people every single day.
Every day. Every single day. Think every day 2 billion people is touching our product. This is amazing.
It is amazing. And so when you, as the Chief Information Officer of this enormous enterprise, share with us the scope of your responsibilities and the things that you are working on.
Yeah. So in our digital transformation, we have set up several initiatives. I mean, the traditional CIO, let's call it that way, we are always thinking about plumbing the infrastructure, right? Creating the right cloud setup, creating the right infrastructure to run the business, which is, of course, very important. But I think the role that we are doing here, when we started pretty much this 2.5 years ago, we are going beyond that. We are establishing connectivity to our field work, which is pretty much amazing. Again, 33,000 folks in the field touching our customer every single day. So we are making them connected, making the whole communication flowing between ourselves and the mechanic in the field. And also we are doing a lot of things also in the what you call the back ends or simplification in our systems landscape. So again, this is a little bit more traditional, but the innovation is something crucial for us. We have just launched 2-3 weeks ago in the Shanghai Expo in China, our IoT product, our IoT connectivity product. And we are now integrating our elevators with sensors back to the cloud, making that information available to not only ourselves, but also to our customers. So that's the innovation piece that our CIO role is moving forward.
So as CIO, you're not just responsible for internal systems, but you're actually involved developing systems that affect the product directly.
Yes. And I give an example, for example, the apps. We have done a lot of apps for mechanics. And these apps, they are apps that are linked to customer experience. I give you one point. When you have a service contract, and then and I take my jacuzzi as an example, if you want some analogy. I mean, I had a problem with my jacuzzi, and I called the service guys. The guys said, I came, I didn't see anything, right? And okay, I called back again, and then the guy said, no, I came and I fixed it. No, but the jacuzzi is still full. I mean, you didn't dry the jacuzzi, and the problem is in the pump. Okay, and then I asked it again. Okay, when you come back? You'll come back tomorrow. Okay, they came back tomorrow and they fixed the jacuzzi, but I had to call 5 times the guy, 5 times or 6 times, and taxes as well, right? So that's the problem we do have, customer experience. So we do a service in a contract that we have with the customer. Customer doesn't see that I came there, and the frequent question was, did you come here and you did what was supposed to be done? I didn't get any feedback. So we just launched a very simple digital tool called using text as a basis, and I tell you, the feedback we got, very simple, the feedback we got was great. So again, when you do apps like this, or also to our mechanics that can improve ride quality or can improve efficiency in the field, like searching parts that I needed to order, this is a great opportunity where digital is beyond, I would call, in the traditional company or the CIO boundary. So we are doing things that go beyond our organization.
Marcus, what is it about digital that creates these opportunities to go beyond the traditional CIO role?
I think if you recall some examples. Again, the sensors data is one thing that is pretty much addressing a lot of opportunities for us. In these 2 million units, from a contract standpoint that you have in the globe, we have more than 300,000 connected today. And we are harvesting this data from a sensors standpoint. If you see, and I think we talk about push the closed door button, right? And I bring the example of this closed door push button. I mean, one of the major issues we do have in elevators is doors. And why? Because people, when are rushing, in the day, and they try to arrive and then see the door closing, they try to hold the door, and then holding the door again affects the mechanisms we have. The components we have in the door. So sensors, we have put sensors in that doors, and you can understand that throughout the whole data history, how much can you predict on this kind of sensors information, and how can we anticipate services to be maintained? And again, sensors in providing this kind of data is very rich. And if you look at doors, again, as I said, 60% of the unexpected services are caused by this type of failures. So if you can bridge the technology, the digital IoT capability along with data analytics, is a very powerful technology for us.
How did you make the transition to this digital view of the CIO role? Because I think change in any organization is very hard.
Yeah, Michael. Again, depends on the market, depends on the company culture. I think technology is one piece, but we need to go along with the people and of course processes. That's the whole combined that makes the difference. But when you see traditional things that you have done in the past, I think the technology has evolved a lot. You go to UK, for example, as a data point. Nobody browses anymore in a traditional laptop or desktop. People are using mobile. I mean, mobile is something that came very, very fast. Capabilities are available in the power of your hand, right? And having this kind of technologies available in the marketplace, along with the opportunities that you can address in your company, you can see, two combined. And I think that's one of the major, I would say, inputs for us to look forward. Again, remember, 33,000 techs in the field. This is the largest technician population in our industry. Every day they are in the field. So if you could put digital technologies to help them, along with the right processes, this is great. And we have done more than that. In our deployment for this 33,000 techs, we have now 17,000 done. We have established a very strong network in terms of change management. We have more than 1,000 people that knows how to support the technicians in the field. They know how can help them to sort the problems out. Because again, mobile for me is easy, but for a technician that has worked 30 years in the industry, it's quite a challenge. So again, that's a opportunity, I would call it. The technology that has been evolved, and I think that the CIO as an opportunity has to take this and move forward. So that's what we did 2 years and a half ago. We established a very nice strategy to transform, support our digital folks in the field, and then of course we're evolving for IoT moving forward and clean up the baseline, our back end in the company as well.
So this transformation is, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like there's a technical transformation that you made, and the implications therefore were on processes, on your employees. And what about what were the business drivers for the reasons that you made these technology changes?
Yeah, in our particular case, we had a lot of market assessments in the last 3 years, 2-3 years, and again back to customer experience. If you recall my jacuzzi example, we had the customers, and you have done a lot of assessments in Europe, mainly because Europe is our mature market from a services standpoint. And again, most of the comments and what matters from a customer standpoint is information, right? How can I make the information available to our customers, and how they are taking that information, and of course helping them to drive. I have a situation, for example, is a true case where a customer told us, look, I have one person that walks every day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night. And I asked, why? Well, why you have this? To do what? No, it's just to walk in every level of my building and check if the elevator is running. Can you believe that? So again,
wow.
Yeah. So we have a customer that's telling you, I have one person from my building walking every single day, every time to check if the elevator is up and running. So again, if you can connect the elevator, get the sensors, predict if it's going to be broken, or even more, as we showed in the Shanghai Expo, we have what you call a customer view. We can show in a dashboard all the units that belongs to the customer. Actually, the name of this is called a compass view. So instead of having the person walk and seeing if the elevator is down or is up and running, he can see in the dashboard and can see his mobile. So think about, and again, that's the way that you address customer experience. That's the way that you address the communication that was missing in the past, and that's what the customers are looking for.
So the goal at every stage, both for your external customers, it sounds like, as well as your internal stakeholders, such as service people, the goal is to simplify, can we say, would it be accurate to say simplify their relationship to the equipment, to the elevator and its components?
Yeah, we have a lot of technologies that, back to your previous comment, and I said that technology is evolving every day. Thanks for it. We really appreciate technology. But these 300,000 units, I told you, some of them are still connected in an old-fashioned way. I would say ISDNs or copper-based telephone lines, right? We are still getting the sensors data. But when you look at these technologies and you see the data around the technology, we can still apply, I would say, analytics on top. We can still apply data patterns around that, and you can still have the information helping us and as well as helping the customer. But definitely, one of the major points that we have done, and some of the apps that we have built around, is to improve ride quality. So in the past, we used to have a technician come with a Motorola brick, as I call it, and then connecting a cable and hooking the cable into the control board. Okay, now we have a wireless dongle, and I can connect even in the lobby without even touching the control board in the elevator machine area. And that's one thing, improve safety as well, by the way. I don't need to have the technician downloading all the data associated with failures or potential failures. I don't need to touch the equipment, that's my point. And if you go and you connect that elevator with a 3G or cellular, I mean, this can be done I would say we cannot say in the McDonald's shop, but we can do, through a wireless, through the internet. So again, that's the power of the information. All of this is in the cloud. We started cloud 4 years ago here at UTC, our parenting company, and we are the pioneers of the cloud in our business. And again, I think that's the power of information in the cloud at the hand of our technicians and at the hand of our customers. I think that's pretty much our vision,
I want to remind everybody that we are speaking right now with Marcus Scelifasi, who is the Chief Information Officer at Otis Elevator Company. And you can participate on Twitter. You can ask questions. There is a tweet chat taking place right now. And Marcus, we have a question from Twitter let me just find it here, from Joanna Young, who is a very experienced CIO, and she's been a guest on this show. And she asks an interesting question. She's been watching, and she says, what approaches do you use to support technology improving result achievements or business outcomes, such as lean management, L6S, Agile, DevOps, anything else? What advice do you have for CIOs who are grappling with all of this kind of mess of different approaches?
That's a great question. And we started 2 years ago, Agile methodology. We learned a lot. It's not easy coming from a traditional waterfall into an Agile method. I mean, the learning process, what that means is sprint, scrum teams, how can you put all together? I think the great news on this is, again, the technology has evolved a lot. I was a COBOL programmer. Don't ask me when, I was a long time ago. And I remember I was sitting along with the guy. The guy was coming, can you do a report like that? And then 2 weeks after, oh, by the way, I missed this. And again, it was kind of you come, you ask me what we want. I think I know what you want, and then I do something, and after you just realize doesn't work, right? So waterfall is over from my point of view. I think we can still use some waterfall technology or process to help us address some, I would call it traditional IT systems. Some ERPs still requires that. But what we did, we actually have a very strong process with our parenting company, UTC, and it is across all our business units. It's called ACE, Achieving Excellence. And ACE has one of the tools called Passport Review boards. I mean, sounds like a very bureaucratic, but and sometimes can be bureaucratic as long as you want to. But what we have done, we have merged some of the key fundamentals. And what is a PRB, as you call it here? It's at the end of the day are milestones, right? I need to have a minimum design. I need to have as a gateway. After the design is done, what's my build? After my build is done, what's my outcome that goes for production. So what you did, you merge that key gateways along with Agile to make sure that we will be fast with a sprint approach, creating scrum teams, but also controlling the quality throughout the process. And we did this for apps. I think worked very well. We did 8 apps in 1 year, pretty much. And you deployed the 17,000 phones, 17,000 mechanics with an ecosystem using iPhone, and our MDM is AirWatch. pretty much in the same time, a year and a half. So it was very, very aggressive, and you see the methodology helping you, like DevOps or Agile. That's crucial. If you want to go digital and you want to do fast, and we need to have, of course, some change in management along with your customers, internal or external. And again, external, we are having a lot of experience bringing some key customers to attend some of the sessions and providing feedback in the design. And I think that's the evolution, So another important thing, we start this pretty much alone, and a year ago, UTC Digital, UTXD as you call it, has launched an accelerator in Brooklyn, where some of these capacities were not present at all. I mean, we started again in our way from a notice elevator standpoint, but capacities like design thinking, ideation, incubation, product management, not project management, product management, of course, analytics. So we are creating these capacities inside the house. You can go and shop this outside, but I don't think it's healthy. So if you want to just really turn your company digital, we need to have this kind of capacities. You need to have a designing thinking process. You need to have agile DevOps. We need to have product managers taking care about the product evolution, the digital product evolution throughout the period. And of course, in the AI, analytics are components that can help you improve and enhance the product. So again, it's a mix of methodology, capabilities that you need to have in-house, and you need to foster this more and more and more in our IT organization.
Your organization, Otis Elevator, is 100 years old?
165. 165.
165 years old. And so how do you drive this kind of change in an organization that is so old and so well established?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I was with our president and talking the other day. It's again not all about technology. Technology is great, but it's technology, it's people, it's process. I think what you have done, we addressed a very strong champions network to help us achieve goals. I'm talking about the apps aspect now. We have 1,000 champions across the world, and I think these people have been trained. These people has been fundamental to help us turn this. And I call adoption because it's really adoption. You can give a very nice phone to a technician, and he can YouTube, he can do this, he can do that, But at the end of the day, you want them to use the apps and make his life more efficient, the customers more communicated, and experience better. So the key fundamental point is if you go to this technology and if it's 165 years a company or if it's 6 months company, has to have a change management concept in place. Because without that, the technology by itself is not going to help you, and people has to adopt. And if people doesn't adapt and adopt, then you have a problem. So, and I take another example. I mean, you see these banking apps or all the other apps. Like my children, they love to download apps, and I have this one phone that gets everybody together. I mean, it's a mess. Every day I'm trying to delete, the apps they downloaded. And sometimes you use one app and then you're never going to use again. So, and then the people are going to ask why. Is the UX UI was bad? I don't think so. I think it's really, sometimes people are going to use that app only for that period of time or that need. So we need to be careful. Sometimes we still think in the old-fashioned way. We do an app like an ERP they're going to use forever like that. No, in this world, everything changes. And if it's good today, it's bad tomorrow, we need to do it again and again and again and again. That's why Agile is very important. That's why sprints are very important. And if you don't do that, then there is no digital in place,
You've just raised a whole bunch of interesting issues. We have a question from Twitter, which I'll get to in a moment because I want to take the the moderator's privilege and follow up with my own question before we go back to Twitter. When you were talking about change management earlier, how is change management today in the digital world different than historically, right? Historically, change management was, well, we're going to send a newsletter to everybody so that they know that something different is going to happen. And today it's different. So how is it different today? Change management.
Yeah, and again, is nice. I remember my first ERP implementation, 1999 in Argentina, was SAP, and SAP at that time was you need to do a very lengthy description of what you want and call the blueprint. Great. Okay, maybe great for that time.
Hey, I have to, I don't want to interrupt, but I have to tell you that those tools, Accelerated ASAP, Accelerated SAP, ASAP, and the QADB and the Business Blueprint Generator, a company I was running created all of those tools for SAP back then.
I'm not going to say anything
Not the
bad
methodology,
about
but we...
I'm not going to say anything bad, but
anyway, which now I'm dating myself. Anyways, I apologize. I interrupted you, but you were just talking about my child, my baby.
So, and again, I think these tools and these processes they were right in that time. I think back to your question, if you can merge some technologies or processes, and again, I think the whole point is back to my experience in SAP. We were doing this, and it was okay. Traditional was out, but when you go to apps and I mean, this has to evolve time to time. It's not something that is going to be simply designed for once and forget. So I think, Michael, the technology has evolved a lot in that perspective, and when you see the technology evolving, brings the process and the newsletters that you used to send in the past, because was even typed, if you recall, was the Word 5 or Word Perfect, type it, and then you send it, you put in the outbox, and someone is going to collect and distribute. But today, the power of the technology is so high. We have put Yammer as part of our suite here, and today Yammer is our communication tool. So I'm talking about email anymore. I think email is more and more becoming obsolete, and I use my children as a baseline. I chat them. I don't send an email to them. They don't even have an account, So, I mean, the generation now is Snapchat, and they have to Snapchat you. I have to Snapchat them, and then that's the way to communicate. So internally here, I mean, back to the original question. Sorry to deviate a little bit, but again, the power of the technology, we need to use that and make it the right usage to improve change management, the communication. So, and it's so nice. I got another example that our service lead gave me, and I was very happy about it because we deployed along with these 1,000 champions in our change management network, a lot of communities inside our Yammer setup. And was a guy, I don't remember his name, a mechanic. He was having a problem, and it's like a China time zone back to California time zone, right? And the guy was typing the Yammer and said, I have a specific problem with this setup in this machine, with this control board, and so on and so forth. I mean, a guy overseas, he answered and said, look, I had the same problem. And by the way, I did this. And I mean, think about the power of this. I mean, this is a true change management. I mean, it's a tool that is across the board. People are talking to each other virtually. They don't know each other face to face. They never met each other face to face. But again, that's for me the power of the technology. But we had to create this network, because without creating the network, without creating the right groups, I mean, we just can create as I call, a little bit confusion. So we need to use the right technology to help and evolve the newsletter, typed one into in a true digital communication.
So change management today actually then is community. It's creating the environment where people can collaborate. That's change management.
Yes.
That's modern change management.
Yes, pure collaboration. pure collaboration. And you have done some tooling as well, some tools where our mechanics, if they have a problem, they can call an expert and they can Skype themselves. They can show with the phone where the problem is, and someone is going to help them to address the problem. And again, before was someone trying to call someone, or we are digitizing all of our technical information, so which is the basis for searching parts and everything else. In the past, we used to have binders in the trunk, and you go back to the trunk in the car, and then you open up and see what's the part I need. So again, in some degree, no, definitely technology helps change management, but we need to organize that and structure that properly, and have the right champion network, have the right expectations how to use the technology, what can be done, what cannot be done. Create the collaboration. I mean, collaboration is key, and I think technology helps. But if you don't organize and structure, then becomes another app that is not going to be used.
Well, I really appreciate that explanation, because I've been wondering and thinking about it for a long time, what is the meaning of change management today? And I think you've summarized it better than I've seen or heard anybody else do that. We have an interesting question from Arsalan Khan on Twitter, who asks about your metrics. What are the metrics that you use to evaluate and ensure that your digital strategy is taking hold across the organization?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about KPIs from a business standpoint. This is a very, I would say, complex metrics that we have to address. But adoption, let's talk about adoption metrics, right? And we have adoption metrics in terms of usage of the apps, in terms of, we have a process also to collect in our incubator ideas that ties again with the KPIs that we have established. So I think one of the main concerns, along with the change in management, how can you drive adoption? And adoption again is relative, depends on the person experience, the person expectation, and but we have a set up very nice KPIs around how the apps and the usage of the apps has been on monthly basis collected, and we revisit that. We have, of course, an organization which is pretty much, if you take North America, are the regions. Inside the regions, we have the branches. The branches, we have supervisors with technicians. So we are making the information visible, meaning that if the mechanic is not using, or better say, using the iPhone only for Twitter or iPhone for only YouTube, we're going to see it, in a sense of, are other apps that are not being used. So we can, with our ecosystem, manage this properly. And we're going to have these KPIs sorted and populated to the supervisors. We're going to have a lot of education around that, because it's not to go and say, look, you have not used that. Is more the point that why you're not using it. So understanding the whys and what is driving the need here and there to improve. I think that's the key fundamental benefit of these KPIs. And then if you go to business metrics, you have business metrics that are pretty much defined, again, to improve customer experience and to improve our mechanics efficiency in the field. And you have built the whole ecosystem around that principles. And we are tracking that. Of course, it's not a rosy picture. It's not a sunny day every day. People are ups and downs. We have some apps that we have like a very excited day, and everybody, let's use it. Boom, 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 was like a rocket, to the sky. And then 1 month after, poof, down. Again, I always use my children as an example. They download the app. They use the first day like a lot, right? And the next day, what's the next step? So again, how can you go back and use these KPIs to bring the usage back, understand what are the problems, improve, or even get rid of them? I'm not married with the 8 apps forever, I told you. I want maybe 8 apps replaced by another 8 apps, or maybe 8 apps consolidated in 4 apps, or maybe more apps, and that's, I think, the evolution of the the ecosystem is the evolution of the KPIs that are going to give you more data points, and then of course the digital transformation evolution.
So when you're thinking about enterprise apps, it sounds like you're rethinking the role of apps and the way that apps are being used in the field. It sounds like that's really fundamental to your thinking.
Yes, and you are using our accelerator in Brooklyn. We are now launching our V2s. And I would try to get more speedy on the Vs, or the sprints. We did the Zaps, as I said, last year. We are doing another V2 this year, and really to address some adoption issues we have using these KPIs collected. But again, I think we have a process in place. We have improved with a lot of design thinking and improved the UX, the experience. We are trying to combine some of the apps to have the right business flow or process flow from a mechanic standpoint. I think the key fundamental, and again, back to the traditional CIO or traditional IT versus a more digital approach, we need to map personas. We need to map our ecosystem, where these personas are going to use these for what purpose. And usually, traditionally, we have not done it in the past. So I need to put myself in the shoes of a mechanic, and I need to be in a hoistway, which has no cellular communication at all. So when you build up an app and then you think, an app is great, but there is no offline capability. Okay, I think it's a big mistake, right? You are in a building that in a hoistway, completely closed, and there is no network coverage. So you cannot build up an app thinking that the app is great if there is no offline capability. So you need to have, again, the persona. You need to put yourself in their shoes and have the right empathy, to make the right process, the right tool, the right app for them.
It sounds like you've redesigned IT from a technology standpoint, but more importantly, from a business standpoint, really thinking about what are the implications for your customers, for your users at every step.
Yes, and again, the great partnership is along with our business leaders here. Service our sales organization as well. We have a digital stream for sales that you're ramping up now. And again, it's not myself here trying to drive everything from my desk. It doesn't work like that. We always know. So I think the partnership along with our business leaders, our leadership is fundamental. And again, when you talk about Otis, our president asked us and want to have us thinking that way. Everybody has to think digital, and I think that's great. We have 68,000 people in this organization. Think about the power of everybody thinking in a different idea every day. I know they're going to be busy, but I think aside that part, I think it's great, right? So I think, and another point, again, talking about IoT and how the technology has evolved, engineering, R&D. I have myself a very close relationship with our engineering. So I don't see today how engineering can be completely aside to IT or DT or digital technology. When you design a product, when I talk about an elevator, we need to think in that perspective as well. How can we integrate that sensors? How does that sensor goes into the cloud? What's the AI opportunities we have around it? Can I put Alexa to call the elevator? Yes, of course you can, and you did it, by the way. You're more than welcome to come here and visit us in our Bristol Tower. Bristol Tower is in Connecticut, in Bristol, and it's the highest tower in North America. So we have a prototype at that we show to customers. They love that. So again, this kind of ideas and that's what you want as a spirit, as a digital company.
So the driver of this transformation is coming right from your CEO.
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Yes, and again. And it's across our service lead, our sales lead, our finance organization, our CFO, legal counsel, everybody's involved. We have a true partnership where we have to have, and that's great. And I think, again, it's the market, it's the company momentum, it's the opportunity that you have talked about, but of course, has to have the right sponsorship. Trying to become digital or turn your CIO traditional role into a digital role has to have the right sponsorship. So, and we are very happy and glad to have this in our organization.
As we finish up, we have another question from Twitter, and I know you spoke earlier quite a bit about IoT, but we have a question: how are you using IoT to improve the company's business? Is it for customer experience? More specifically, how are you using IoT and why?
Yeah. So I mentioned before the Campus View, which is one of the customer dashboards that we have presented in the Shanghai Expo, and the Campus View gives you how healthy the customer fleet, as I call fleet, the elevators are in their respective building, and all of these and you can see it's available reds and green dots. Why is red is because we can have the elevator or the unit down, shut down, or also you can see and you click. Can start to turn green to yellow, yellow to red, and you can move the time. Moving the time means I can move ahead a little bit and see in 3 months that yellow becomes red. So that's what we can see it. And of course, the customer has the information available. So back to the question, we using the sensors data, we are feeding all of this data in our cloud. We have done condition-based maintenance to predict using, again, doors as 60% of our callbacks, as you call it, or unexpected visits are driven by doors problems. And we have done a very good, along with engineering in our research center here, prediction and how these patterns of failures could happen and then how they would happen. So we can anticipate that failure. That's what addresses not only the efficiency in our side, but also we prevent to have a unit in a shutdown mode, which is the worst thing can happen to our customer. Customers need our elevators 100% of the time up running. So that's pretty much the whole business value we see with IoT in our case.
And I have to ask you one final question, which is the door close buttons. Do the door close buttons actually work on elevators, or are they just fake kind of props? Okay.
So that's a very nice question. So if the customers asks you to shut down, we're going to shut down the button, okay? That's a customer request. But and sometimes we do on purpose. And remember the story I told you, I'm rushing, getting into the building, and then, you know. And the worst thing can happen is the guy doing that. The second worst thing can happen is the guy pushing the open door. Or because this is a movement, you know, for the engineers in the attending the broadcast today, the door is coming like this, and then you have momentum, you know, that the whole mechanics have to go back. And if you have some extra strength, is even worse, you know. So we don't like it because, again, this turns the momentum of closing the door completely interrupted. So we don't like it. So can be perceived as a fake button, but again, I let you judge that.
All right. Well, what an interesting and very fast conversation. Marcus Galafasi, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you.
We have been speaking with Marcus Galafasi, who is the Chief Information Officer at Otis Elevator. And what a great, interesting discussion this has been. Once again, tell your friends to watch. The replay will be up there very soon. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, everybody. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.